Brace yourselves, food lovers. Some of your favorite fast food chains are disappearing for good in 2025. From once thriving burger joints to beloved pizza spots, the fast food landscape is about to change forever. But why are these chains shutting down? And is your go-to guilty pleasure next on the chopping block? Stay with me because the reasons behind these closures might just shock you. Why? Is it the economy? A shift in consumer habits? Or is there something bigger at play? Today we're diving deep into 12 major fast food chains shutting down in 2025. Some of these closures might make sense, but others, they're downright shocking. So grab your favorite snack while you still can, because by the end of this video, you might be rethinking your next fast food run. Let's get started. 1. Domino's Pizza, a slice of trouble. Domino's Pizza has been a go-to spot for cheesy, delicious pizza for decades. But in 2025, the company is facing some serious trouble. Over 200 locations are set to shut down, with 172 stores closing in Japan alone. That's a massive cut, and it has left many customers wondering, what's going on? The biggest reason? Low sales. Domino's has struggled in certain areas, especially in international markets. While the brand is still strong in the U.S., some locations just aren't making enough money to stay open. The company's new CEO, Mark Van Dyke, has decided it's time to clean house and focus on profitable locations. Another major issue is competition. Let's be honest, there's no shortage of pizza places these days. With big rivals like Pizza Hut, Little Caesars, and even local pizzerias stepping up their game, Domino's is feeling the heat. Plus, many customers are now looking for healthier or gourmet options, something Domino's isn't exactly known for. And then there's the rising cost of ingredients and delivery services. Inflation has hit the restaurant industry hard, making it more expensive to produce and deliver pizza. With customers tightening their wallets, fewer people are ordering takeout as often as they used to. But don't panic just yet. Domino's isn't going away completely. The company is focusing on its strongest markets and even planning to open new locations in better performing areas. Still, if your local Domino's is struggling, you might want to grab one last slice before it's gone for good. 2. TGI Fridays, the end of an era. TGI Fridays has been a favorite for casual dining, known for its burgers, wings, and fun atmosphere. But in 2025, the chain is facing serious financial trouble. Many locations across the U.S. are shutting down, and it's not looking good for the brand's future. The biggest issue? Bankruptcy. In late 2024, TGI Fridays filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This means they are drowning in debt and struggling to stay open. The restaurant industry has changed a lot, and Fridays just couldn't keep up. More and more people prefer fast casual spots over sit-down restaurants, and that has hit their sales hard. Another major problem is high costs. Running a full-service restaurant isn't cheap. Rising rent, labor costs, and food prices have made it tough for TGI Fridays to stay profitable. Customers are also spending less on dining out, making things even worse. And let's talk about competition. The casual dining space is packed with big names like Applebee's, Chili's, and Texas Roadhouse. With so many options, TGI Fridays has struggled to stand out. Many customers feel the menu hasn't changed much over the years, and newer restaurants are offering fresher, more exciting choices. So what's next? The company is closing underperforming locations and trying to focus on profitable ones. But with so many financial struggles, the future of TGI Fridays remains uncertain. If you love their Jack Daniel's ribs or classic mozzarella sticks, now might be the time for one last visit, because some locations won't be around much longer. 3. Wendy's, a frosty future. Ahead, Wendy's has been a fast food favorite for years, serving up juicy burgers, crispy fries, and of course, the famous Frosty. But in 2025, the company is making a big move, closing 140 locations across the U.S. This decision has left many fans wondering, why is Wendy's shutting down so many stores? The main reason? Underperformance. Some Wendy's locations just aren't bringing in enough sales to stay open. The company has decided to cut these underperforming restaurants to focus on stronger markets. While this might sound like bad news, Wendy's is actually still growing. They plan to open 250 to 300 new locations worldwide in 2025, aiming for better success in areas with high demand. Another challenge is rising costs. The price of food, labor, and rent has gone up, making it harder for some locations to stay profitable. Fast food chains rely on high customer volume to make money, and if a store isn't getting enough traffic, it becomes a financial burden. Competition is also a huge factor. The fast food industry is packed with rivals like McDonald's, Burger King, and Chick-fil-A. Wendy's has tried to stay ahead with new menu items and digital ordering, but in some locations, it just hasn't been enough. So should Wendy's fans be worried? Not really. While some locations are closing, the brand is still strong. If anything, Wendy's is making these changes to become even better. But if your local Wendy's is on the chopping block, you might want to grab one last Baconator while you still can. 4. Denny's closing time for America's Diner? Denny's has been a go-to spot for late-night eats and classic diner food for decades. From fluffy pancakes to sizzling bacon, it's a place where families and night owls alike have gathered for comfort food. But in 2025, the iconic chain is set to close 150 locations across the U.S. This move has many loyal customers asking, why is Denny's disappearing? The biggest reason, declining sales. While Denny's was once the king of 24/7 diners, fewer people are eating out at traditional sit-down restaurants. The pandemic changed dining habits, and many customers now prefer fast casual or delivery options instead of spending time at a booth with a menu in hand. Another issue is outdated locations. Many Denny's restaurants haven't been updated in years, making them feel old compared to trendier breakfast spots like IHOP or First Watch. Customers are looking for fresh, modern dining experiences, and Denny's has struggled to keep up. And then there's rising costs. Inflation has made ingredients, labor, and rent more expensive, putting pressure on struggling locations. Some franchise owners simply can't afford to keep their doors open. So, is this the end of Denny's? Not entirely. The chain is focusing on its best-performing locations and modernizing its brand. But for some neighborhoods, it's the last call for Grand Slams and bottomless coffee. If your local Denny's is still open, now might be the time for one last late-night breakfast before it's gone for good. 5. Buca di Beppo, a big bite of bankruptcy. Buca di Beppo has been known for its huge portions, family-style dining, and old-school Italian vibes. But in 2025, the restaurant is facing a harsh reality. 18 locations have already shut down, and more closures are expected. So what happened to this once popular Italian chain? The biggest problem? Bankruptcy. In August 2024, the parent company of Buca di Beppo, Earl Enterprises, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's a fancy way of saying they're in deep financial trouble. The company owes millions to landlords, food suppliers, and even employees. With such massive debt, closing restaurants became the only option. Another major issue is changing dining trends. People love Italian food, but they don't always want to eat out at big, sit-down restaurants. More customers are choosing fast casual spots like Olive Garden or ordering Italian takeout from local pizzerias instead. Buca di Beppo's business model just isn't keeping up with what today's diners want. Rising costs have also made things worse. Food prices, labor costs, and rent have all skyrocketed, making it tough for struggling locations to survive. Many customers also feel that Buca's prices are too high compared to other Italian restaurants offering similar dishes. So, is Buca di Beppo done for? Not entirely. Some locations are still open and the company is trying to restructure its debt. But with fewer restaurants left, it's clear that this once thriving chain is on shaky ground. If you love their giant meatballs and endless pasta, you might want to enjoy them while you still can. 6. Boston Market. The end of a rotisserie era? Boston Market was once a top choice for home-style meals, famous for its rotisserie chicken, mashed potatoes, and cornbread. But in 2025, the chain is in serious danger. Dozens of locations have already shut down, and more are expected to follow. So, what went wrong? The biggest issue? Massive financial trouble. In 2023, Boston Market was hit with lawsuits from suppliers and employees claiming the company wasn't paying its bills or workers on time. This led to sudden restaurant closures, unpaid wages, and even food shortages in some locations. With so much debt piling up, it's been nearly impossible for the chain to recover. Another huge problem is declining customer interest. Let's be real, fast food and takeout have changed a lot. These days, people prefer quicker, cheaper, and more customizable meals. Meanwhile, newer chains like Chipotle and Panera have taken over the fast casual market, offering fresh and healthy options that appeal to modern eaters. And then there's management chaos. Boston Market has changed ownership several times over the years, and each time, the brand seemed to lose its focus. Poor leadership, lack of innovation, and bad financial decisions have driven the company closer to extinction. So is Boston Market officially done? Not yet, but it's struggling to survive. With fewer locations left, it's unclear if the brand can bounce back. If you still crave their famous rotisserie chicken, you might want to grab a plate while you still can, because in many cities, Boston Market is disappearing fast. 7. Steak and Shake, the last sip of a classic? Steak and Shake has been serving up delicious steak burgers and hand-spun milkshakes for nearly 90 years. But in 2025, the chain is facing serious trouble, with over 100 locations shutting down. For longtime fans, this is heartbreaking news. But what led to the downfall of this once thriving burger joint? The biggest problem? Money troubles. Steak and Shake has been struggling for years, and in 2021, the company's parent brand, Big Laurie Holdings, had to close dozens of locations due to poor sales. Some restaurants sat empty for months, unable to reopen because they couldn't afford staff or repairs. Another major issue is slow service. Fast food is all about speed, but Steak and Shake's made-to-order burgers take longer than most competitors like McDonald's or Wendy's. In a world where customers want quick and easy meals, many have moved on to faster options. And then there's the failed franchise experiment. In recent years, Steak and Shake tried to switch to a self-service model and sell more locations to franchise owners. But this plan backfired. Many locations never reopened, and some that did couldn't keep up with costs. The result? More closures, fewer employees, and a declining reputation. So, is Steak and Shake going away completely? Not yet. The company is still fighting to revamp its business model, but with so many closures, its future remains uncertain. If you love their famous Frisco melts or creamy milkshakes, now might be the time for one last trip, because in some cities, Steak and Shake is disappearing fast. 8. Krispy Kreme, a sweet brand in trouble? Krispy Kreme has been a fan favorite for years, known for its warm, melt-in-your-mouth donuts. But in 2025, the brand is facing a bitter reality. Dozens of locations are set to close, and some customers are starting to worry. Could this be the end of the famous Hot Now sign? One of the biggest reasons for the closures? Declining foot traffic. While Krispy Kreme still sells millions of donuts, fewer people are visiting physical stores. Many customers now grab their treats at grocery stores, gas stations, and drive-through coffee shops instead. This shift has made it hard for standalone Krispy Kreme locations to survive. Another issue? High costs. Ingredients like flour, sugar, and oil have all become more expensive. On top of that, rent and labor costs are rising, making it tough for some locations to stay profitable. Competition is also a major factor. Coffee chains like Dunkin' and Starbucks have expanded their pastry options, giving customers more choices. With so many places selling donuts, Krispy Kreme has struggled to stand out. So, is Krispy Kreme disappearing? Not entirely. The brand is still strong, and the company is focusing on expanding partnerships with retailers instead of keeping unprofitable stores open. That means you'll still find Krispy Kreme donuts in supermarkets and convenience stores. But if your local shop is closing, you might want to stop by for one last glazed classic while you still can. 9. Hardee's, the burger chain. Struggling to survive. Hardee's has been a staple for thick, juicy burgers and hearty breakfasts for decades. But in 2025, the chain is facing a harsh reality. Dozens of locations are shutting down across the U.S. With so much competition in the fast food world, Hardee's is struggling to keep up. One of the biggest problems? Declining sales. Hardee's has had a tough time attracting younger customers who now prefer trendier fast food spots like Shake Shack, Five Guys, and Chick-fil-A. The brand's old-school appeal just isn't working like it used to. Another major issue is rising costs. The price of ingredients, labor, and rent has gone up, making it harder for franchise owners to turn a profit. Some locations simply aren't making enough money to stay open. And let's not forget the branding confusion. Hardee's and its sister chain, Carl's Jr., have struggled with their identity. While Carl's Jr. is more popular on the West Coast, Hardee's has been losing ground in many areas. Some customers don't even realize they're owned by the same company. So, is Hardee's disappearing completely? Not yet, but the company is downsizing to focus on stronger markets. If your local Hardee's is on the closing list, you might want to grab one last monster biscuit before it's gone for good. 10. Jack in the Box, fast food's next big exit? Jack in the Box has been known for its quirky ads, late-night munchies, and massive burger menu. But in 2025, the fast food chain is making headlines for the wrong reasons. Over 50 locations are set to close across the U.S. With so many restaurants fighting for survival, what's pushing Jack in the Box toward the edge? The biggest issue? Financial struggles. While Jack in the Box has remained popular in some regions, many locations just aren't profitable anymore. Low sales, high costs, and competition have forced the company to rethink its strategy. Instead of keeping underperforming stores open, they're shutting them down to cut losses. Another challenge is bad customer experiences. In recent years, some locations have been hit with negative reviews due to slow service, food quality issues, and outdated restaurants. With fast food giants like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Taco Bell constantly improving their menus and tech, Jack in the Box has struggled to keep up. And then there's the shrinking late-night crowd. Jack in the Box has long been a go-to for late-night eats, but post-pandemic, fewer people are going out at night. With remote work, changing lifestyles, and financial concerns, demand for 24-hour fast food isn't what it used to be. So, is Jack in the Box doomed? Not quite. The brand is still pushing digital orders, drive-thrus, and new menu items. But if your local Jack in the Box is closing, you might want to grab one last ultimate cheeseburger while you still can. 11. Checkers and Rallies racing toward shutdowns. Checkers and Rallies has been a favorite for crispy seasoned fries, bold burgers, and late-night drive-thru runs. But in 2025, the brand is hitting a major roadblock. Over 40 locations are set to close. With fast food competition heating up, why is this popular chain struggling to stay in the race? The biggest problem? Financial struggles. In recent years, Checkers and Rallies has racked up millions in debt, making it harder to keep underperforming locations open. Some franchise owners have had to shut down stores simply because they couldn't afford to stay in business. Another issue? Fierce competition. With brands like McDonald's, Burger King, and Five Guys expanding their menus and delivery options, Checkers and Rallies has found it tough to attract new customers. While the chain has a loyal fan base, it hasn't grown as fast as its competitors. And then there's the lack of dine-in options. Checkers and Rallies is strictly a drive-thru and takeout operation, which worked well in the past. But now many customers prefer places where they can sit down, relax, and enjoy their meal. Without that option, the chain is losing out on business. So, is Checkers and Rallies disappearing completely? Not yet. The company is focusing on its strongest markets and hoping to turn things around. But with so many locations closing, some fans may have to drive a little farther to get their hands on those famous seasoned fries. 12th. Quiznos, the last toast. Quiznos was once a major player in the sandwich game, known for its toasty subs and bold flavors. But in 2025, the once popular chain is on the verge of disappearing completely. With only a handful of locations left in the U.S., many people are wondering, what went wrong? The biggest issue? Massive store closures. At its peak, Quiznos had over 5,000 locations. Today, fewer than 200 remain. The chain has been shrinking for years, and in 2025, even more locations are shutting their doors for good. Another major problem? Franchise failures. Unlike Subway, which kept costs low for franchise owners, Quiznos had high fees and expensive food supplies. Many franchisees struggled to turn a profit, leading to mass closures. Then there's the competition. With big names like Jersey Mike's, Jimmy John's, and Firehouse Subs taking over the sandwich market, Quiznos simply failed to keep up. Customers moved on to fresher, trendier options, leaving Quiznos in the dust. So, is Quiznos officially done? Not yet. The brand still exists, but it's a shadow of what it once was. Unless something changes fast, Quiznos could become nothing more than a memory. If you still have one in your city, you might want to grab a classic Italian sub before it's too late.